This video is going to have a look at the reproductive cells and the menstrual cycle. So what you need to know by the end of it is what the reproductive cells are, the role they play, and how the menstrual cycle works. So first things first then, the sperm. Just going to go through and label all the different parts which you need to know for the exam. So up here we have the tail. This part here is called the middle section. A lot of thought went into that. This part here is the head. This part in the middle here is the nucleus. And then contained within the head is something called acrosome. Now the key things you need to know about the role of the sperm is the tail helps it swim. The middle section contains mitochondria, and that helps to give the cell energy. The acrosome contains enzymes that helps to break down the cell membrane of the egg. And finally it contains a haploid nucleus, which means that it contains one copy of each chromosome. The egg cell, by comparison to the sperm cell, is huge, as you can see by my awesome diagram here. The egg cell contains female DNA, and it also contains foods to nourish the embryo. And then the only final thing that you need to know is the cell membrane around the outside, once fertilized, will change its structure, and by doing that it means that no more sperm can get in. Okay, so the next part we're going to have a look at is what happens during the menstruation cycle. So the menstrual cycle is a 28-day cycle that every woman goes through. It starts off with the lining of the uterus breaking down. That is stage 1. Now when this breaks down, the body produces FSH, which is the follicle stimulating hormone. Now this follicle stimulating hormone allows a follicle to start to mature. Now a follicle is an egg and its surrounding cells. So in other words, it starts to produce the egg. This in turn starts to produce estrogen, and that starts to build up the lining of the wall. So a quick recap then. First thing that happens is the lining of the uterus breaks down. Follicle stimulating hormone is produced. That means that an egg has started to be produced in this follicle, which is this circle bit here. As the lining breaks down, estrogen is produced, and the lining of the uterus builds back up again. All the time, this follicle is growing and the egg cell is growing. Stage 3 is when the uterus lining is thick enough to receive an egg, and when the egg is produced, a new hormone called the luteinizing hormone is produced. So that releases the egg, and then the rest of the follicle produces progesterone. It breaks down and turns into progesterone. Now this progesterone, which is released from the follicle, which is called a corpus luteum, helps to maintain the lining of the uterus. Now if fertilized, so if the egg becomes fertilized, that will stay there until the baby is born. However, if not, it will then break down and the cycle will repeat. So in summary for the final bit then, the progesterone maintains the lining of the uterus, it prevents the production of the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone, and then if fertilization doesn't occur, the level of progesterone will fall and the cycle starts again, the wall breaks down. So the final bit you need to know about the menstrual cycle is about negative feedback. So negative feedback is what controls the level of hormones. So for example, if we have the follicle stimulating hormone here, that will make the ovary produce estrogen. So the estrogen, which is then produced, then stops the follicle stimulating hormone FSH from being released, and therefore no more follicles are produced. So it's a bit of a cycle that means that provided the one follicle has been produced, it means that no more will be made until the next cycle, if the cycle starts again and the female hasn't become pregnant. And that is all you need to know on this.